America. A vast expanse of forests, grasslands, wetlands, rivers, and an extraordinary diversity of wildlife. The nation, however, is facing a habitat crisis. More than half of the nation's wetlands have been destroyed. Nearly 75% of the nation's riparian habitats have been lost. 95% of our tallgrass prairie and longleaf pine forests no longer exist, and less than 2% of the country's rivers remain free-flowing. While we often think of wildlife habitat as wilderness or other public lands, the fact is that most wildlife habitat is on private lands. And because 2/3 of our nation's lands are in private ownership, landowners and working landscapes play a critical role in the conservation of America's wildlife. Long ago, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the agency tasked with conserving the nation's wildlife and habitats, recognized that success in their mission hinged on partnerships with private landowners. Rising to the challenge, visionaries within the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service started the Partners for Fish and Wildlife program in 1987. The approach is simple: engage willing partners through voluntary habitat restoration and enhancement to conserve valuable fish and wildlife habitat on their land and in their communities. We make effective on-the-ground habitat conservation feasible by providing financial and technical assistance. Our local biologists work together with landowners and other partners to help plan and implement habitat projects, as well as measure success along the way. The one-on-one nature and the follow-through of the Partners program has led to its national recognition and wide-ranging support. Originating in the prairie pothole region of the Midwest, the Partners program is closely linked to the National Wildlife Refuge System, where employees saw the interest of neighbors in working beyond refuge boundaries, inspiring both public and private land conservation efforts. The response by private landowners was overwhelmingly positive, and Partners for Fish and Wildlife quickly began to spread across the country. Today, this initiative has grown into a $57 million nationwide program with 240 staff in all 50 states and territories. Since the start of the program, more than 60,000 landowners have worked with our biologists to restore more than 7 million acres of wildlife habitat. These cooperative efforts have contributed to the delisting, the downlisting, or have prevented the listing of 19 species under the Endangered Species Act. These include the greater sage grouse, Delmarva fox squirrel, fluvial Arctic grayling, Oregon chub, Louisiana black bear, and the New England cottontail. These partnerships also help the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service meet their goals of conserving and managing other species, such as migratory birds and fish, as well as plants. These success stories would not be possible without the partnerships developed with private landowners. In 2022, Partners for Fish and Wildlife celebrates 35 years of conservation partnerships on private lands. Today, the Partners program continues to refine our strategic approach to conserve species, connect habitats, and build resilient ecosystems. As part of our 35th anniversary, we will reinvigorate connections with our stakeholders, increase our relevancy with new partners, expand relationships with Native American tribes, create new urban youth partnerships, and build a culture of communicating science. The Partners for Fish and Wildlife family sincerely thanks those who have partnered up, rolled up their sleeves, and contributed to private lands conservation. If you have not yet experienced the power of conservation partnerships or visited a Partners for Fish and Wildlife project, we encourage you to contact your local biologist. All it takes is a phone call or an email to get started. We have come a long way in the past 35 years, and we look forward to continuing to partner with the outstanding community leaders and the private land stewards of our nation's land, water, and wildlife.